I don't know. I don't know. I'm not even trying.
Give me a try.
Listen.
It is the Suez Canal.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
We're about to go look in the encyclopedia. We'll be right back. Mind of a Man Show. And we're back with Mind of a Man Show. So, Dr. Bean, here we go.
Yes, sir.
You know that there's a lot of social media therapists out there now. Social media clinicians, coaches, and some of them, sometimes they make different diagnoses or they have different interventions about relationships. For instance, this one that we talked about not too long ago states that people who don't like confrontation and conflict typically go ghost. So many relationships could have been saved and resolved through simple conversation. Dr. Bean, what are your thoughts on that statement?
I absolutely agree.
Okay.
I absolutely agree. That oftentimes because of people's fear of conflict or fearing that if they have a simple conversation that all of a sudden it's not going to be so simple, or they fear the worst, like, oh, it's going to be big, and just because they do not want something big and bad to happen as a result, they just avoid it altogether. And I do think a lot of problems can be resolved and a lot of relationships can be salvaged or mended if people just had simple conversations, or at least looked at it as more simple than they tend to, if they didn't view it as complicated or it's something to be scared of.
Well, so Dr. Bean, that would entail that you would have to have some form of, I guess, courage to be able to express yourself, and also the opportunity to just say it as it is. And I think some people just don't know how to do that because, again, what you said, they're scared, they're fearful, they don't know how to communicate effectively. I mean, what would you say?
Well, I don't think it's always about the person. The reality is conversations it's a two-way street.
Okay.
So sometimes a person can know how to communicate or know what they want to say and how to say it, but they may very well know that the person they want to communicate with may have a certain response that they're trying to avoid, or may be more intense, or may be more volatile than what the conversation requires. So it is a two-way street.
Right.
However, I do think that if the relationship is important to you, before you just disappear and just say, look, I'm going to avoid this altogether, you at least have to try. You have to at least try to have a conversation.
And I think one of the things is that whenever a conversation is going forth, I mean, as you said, it was a two-way street. So there's a messenger and there's a receiver. And so if the message not being delivered to the receiver in a way that they can digest or so, or maybe somewhat offensive to them, then I think that can continue, possibly get in the way of the overall purpose of just being able to be yourself in that. What would you say?
Well, you can't really control. You could be mindful of the things we say and do that possibly could offend somebody,
Right.
but you really can't control if somebody's offended by something. You just have to go forward in the conversation knowing that you're providing a safe space to communicate, that you're prefacing your dialogue or your conversation with words that are safe, words of support, words of love, and then that's really all you can do, and then say what you need to say. Try to speak and communicate in a non-blaming way, but speaking from a place that lets the person know what you feel and what's going on, but how they receive any of that, you cannot control, but it doesn't mean you do not need to communicate it.
Definitely, I agree with you. So basically, what I'm just going to say, what she said is, go forth and communicate at your own risk. Question number 2. There was another wonderful social, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Okay.
Another social media meme, posting, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Title was, Get Your Shit Together First. Is it possible to have all of your stuff together, considering everything that happens in human life, in human existence?
You mean have all of your stuff together before getting in a relationship?
Yes.
I don't know what that really means and looks like. Hold on. Walk with me.
Come on.
I will say this, yes, there are some primary things that I think, of course, we should reasonably have together. We should have a certain level of self-awareness when you're trying to enter a relationship, temperament, how you communicate, what we just discussed. I think that financially, you should be financially self-aware of where you are and what you have to bring to the table and how that looks like and what that looks like in a relationship. I think if you have certain personal goals you want to accomplish or at least be in the process of accomplishing, those should be kind of underway. You should be in a clear space with that before you bring somebody else into your life. But I think we're just such layered and complicated people. I don't know if it's possible to have everything together to enter a relationship, but I do think you have to reasonably have some fundamental things together.
And so I was all well ready to play devil's advocate on that one.
Okay, I'm sure. I'm ready.
I was ready to, but I actually agree with you. Because one of the things I wanted to say is that with everything that happens in life, through childhood development, through the ideas that happen from parenting, what we saw, what was modeled in front of us, and the stuff that goes along with that. And then also too, with the things that happen in college, in early adulthood, and the things along those lines. It just sometimes makes me think, how can you have everything in order, in place, in such a